Good evening, everyone. Just want to make sure and looking for notice that you can hear me out there. If you nod your head, that's a good response. Thank you very much. My name's Graydon Stanley. I work in student services here at North Idaho College, and I want to welcome you to tonight's NIC Trustee Forum. Thank you for joining us here. I also want to particularly thank ASNIC. ASNIC is our Associated Students of North Idaho College, our student government, as they were the ones who chose to host this forum tonight. And I appreciate their thoughtfulness in making sure that students here at the college and employees had the opportunity to hear from our trustee candidates. So thank you, ASNIC members. And our moderator tonight, who you'll have a chance to meet in just a few minutes, is our president of ASNIC, Kai Settlemyre. So Kai, appreciate your leadership and your participation here tonight as well. Before Kai comes on, let me share with you a little bit more about tonight's format. First of all, as I said, the intended audience for this was NIC students and employees, and so that's where it was primarily promoted. I understand that some people may have forwarded the invitation out to others, but this is really aimed at serving those NIC students and employees to get more information. But we welcome everybody who's joined us here tonight. We extended, or we being Kai, thank you, extended invitations to all 5 of the trustee candidates to join us here. Those are from Zone 3, who's running unopposed, Todd Banducci. From Zone 4, it's Dr. Joe Dunlap and Gregory McKenzie. And from Zone 5, Michael Barnes and Dr. Paul Sturm. Unfortunately, all the candidates weren't able to join us tonight. Just 2 were able to join us. The other 3 indicated that they had previous engagements, were unable to join us here tonight. So we're sorry that that's the case, but we're committed to making sure those who could have an opportunity to respond to questions. And speaking of questions, want to share that format with you as well. The ASNIC students were the ones who developed the questions here, solicited information from their peers here on campus. And there's a list of, I think, 13 questions that Kai, our moderator, will be offering to the candidates tonight. We are not soliciting candidate or questions from the folks who are tuned in here tonight. All the questions are already set. They certainly weren't provided to anybody else in advance. Each one of the candidates, I think Kai will probably remind them, has approximately 2 minutes to respond to the question that's asked. And we hopefully, in about a period of an hour, will get through these 13 questions. So if you were hoping to come on tonight and open up the mic and have an opportunity to ask a question, that's not the intent of this forum. It's a presentation of trustee candidate views in response to questions that were developed by our students here. The chat feature also has been disabled. We wanted to make sure, like we're live, that the conversation is, the responses come from our trustees here. And so you won't have our trustee candidates, you won't have the opportunity to chat back and forth. If there's some technical issue, our technical moderator is available and you could chat to him if you're having problems with sound or something along those lines. But otherwise, that's what the format looks like here tonight. There won't be open mic, there won't be that dialogue that comes from the audience, but there will be plenty of questions and good responses from our candidates. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator, the North Idaho College Student Body President, Kai Sedlmayer.
Hi, can everyone hear me all right? Great. Well, thank you all for coming and welcome to this evening's Board of Trustees Candidate Forum. I would like to thank all of you for coming and supporting North Idaho College, and thank you to Dr. Joe Dunlap and Dr. Paul Sturm for joining us tonight. ASNIC believes in providing all students with the ability to refine their academic skills through reading, writing, speaking, and thinking to advance their knowledge of the major disciplines of language, arts, mathematics, science, and history, as well as the professional technical programs. North Idaho College meets the diverse educational needs of students, employers, and the Northern Idaho communities it serves through a commitment to student success, educational excellence, community engagement, and lifelong learning. Our goal tonight is to learn more about these candidates by providing a formal questioning and answering time period. As Grayton said, there are 13 questions that have been pre-selected by the ASNIC Student Government Board, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. Our timekeeper will notify you as the 2-minute mark approaches. Now, if the candidates would like to take this time to introduce themselves, let's start with Dr. Dunlap.
Good evening, everyone. And Kai, thank you so much for sponsoring this event. And Dr. Stanley, thank you for being there and helping put this together as well. My name is Joe Dunlap, and I grew up in Washington State and grew up in a very staunch religious family, and then went to Whitworth University. And when I graduated, joined the military. And I spent a 20-year military career as an aviation officer. And that was absolutely a wonderful experience. And upon retiring from the military, I entered higher education at Western Michigan University as the director of their School of Aviation Sciences. And since then, I have held positions such as instructor pilot, faculty member, dean, vice president, and I was president at Spokane Community College as well as North Idaho College. And I'm currently chair of the North Idaho College board. On the personal side, my wife and I, Yvette, have 3 children that are spread out between Seattle and Singapore, and we have 6 grandchildren. And as you can see from maybe some of the things behind me, that my passion is sailing, and I spend a lot of time out on Lake Pend Oreille. I have a huge passion for North Idaho College and would like to continue being affiliated with the college as a trustee.
Thank you for that. And Dr. Sturm? We cannot hear you.
Does that work?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. I think I told you, Kai, that I'm working off my cell phone because I couldn't get the mic to work on my computer. So bear with me on that. Kai, thank you so much for setting this up. It's a great opportunity. I have to say I'm heartened that the students are involved and interested, and so I commend you for that. This is also a really great opportunity for me because I'm new to North Idaho College, and this is a great opportunity for me to learn about the students and the faculty because through your questions and your concerns. So this is a really important time, learning time for me. Students and the faculty are at the core of the mission of North Idaho College. So it's important. It's important that we hear your voices. So thank you. So I'll talk a little bit about myself. After high school, I, like Joe, was raised in a very strict religious family, and neither of my parents actually finished high school. My father quit after the 8th grade to work on his family farm up in Canada, and so neither of my parents went to college. And right out of high school, I went to work. I worked for a pea and lentil processing plant, and then I worked as a jeweler for about 10 years. During that time, I enrolled in a community college and spent some time building a foundation. And that community college experience was so important for me because I don't think I would have ever gone to college, or certainly not gone on to college, without that foundation. And I went on to earn a Bachelor of Science in Biology and a Master's in Educational Administration. And I earned a doctoral degree in Educational Leadership from Washington State University. I taught high school biology, math, and chemistry for several years. I was a high school principal. I was a superintendent for 10 years in the Pullman School District. In 2016, I retired and my wife and I moved to our home in Spirit Lake. And we love, we're hands-on people. We love the outdoors. We actually spent the first 2 years that we lived here remodeling our old 1950s cabin. We just love the outdoors and the recreation opportunities that we have, being near the lake, and went on a nice long hike today. We're going to have our two of our grandsons out this weekend and give mom and dad a little bit of a break. So we just really enjoy where we are, and I do hope to serve as NIC trustee. I believe I bring the experience and education to serve the college well. And having been a community college student myself, I bring appreciation and passion for just how important North Idaho College is for students, but also for the whole community in this region, and for economic development and employers. So I really do, again, reiterate how much I appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight.
Great. Well, thank you both for introducing yourselves, and we will begin with the questions now. So starting with Dr. Dunlap, we will get to the first question, which is, why do you want this position?
The reason that I would like to be reelected to this position is that I have spent the past 28 years involved in higher education, and the past 8 years approximately with North Idaho College as president and then as a trustee. And I have a passion for education, for lifelong learning, and I want to be able to continue to contribute to North Idaho College. And I've done that with my personal time and resources for student scholarships. And I think I've been effective for North Idaho College. During the time I was president, we built 3 brand new buildings. We started quite a few new career and technical education programs with grant money that Christy Doyle applied for. And I think we've done a pretty darn good job. Also, we've been fiscally conservative, and even during this pandemic, we have not had to lay anybody off, which is remarkable. And so I want to be there to put students first and do what we can to support student success and their lifelong learning.
Thank you, Dr. Dunlap. Dr. Sturm?
Well, thank you. I too, without saying the same things, but I really do have an interest in education. Obviously, I've spent my whole career as an educator, and importantly, I got my start with a community college, and I just know how important a community college is to not only the local community but the region, and for economic development. And I feel like I come prepared with a background that would help the board, that would bring some fresh maybe eyes and ideas. And I'd really like the opportunity to see North Idaho College remain strong, but also look for ways that we can improve it together.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question.
You're welcome.
Dr. Sturm, what makes you suitable to be a trustee?
Well, I'm going to reiterate a little bit, but I think I'm suitable. Partly what I haven't said already. I think the important thing is that I'm a person that wants to learn and wants to listen and wants to come up with solutions. I don't come with any specific agenda for North Idaho College other than to keep students at the center, to keep learning at the center of our mission, and to make sure the college is able to support students and faculty in doing the core mission work. You know, I think I have the experience and background. I've worked on boards, a number of different kinds of boards. I've been on President McLennan's side of the board, being accountable to a board. I've worked, I was on the board for the Pullman Chamber of Commerce. I was on the Developmental Services Board when I was down there. So I have a lot of experience working with people to solve problems and keeping the organization at the focus and center of our work. I think I'm ready to go to work.
Great, thank you. Dr. Dunlap?
The things that I think qualify me to be an NIC trustee are, there's really four things. One is my background with leadership and management experience. Number two is my educational background. I have a master's degree in business administration, which serves well as a fiduciary for the college. And I also have a doctorate degree in educational leadership from Oregon State University. Thirdly, my experience. I mentioned I've got 28 years of experience in higher education in a wide variety of positions, working both at the university level and at the community college level. And then fourthly, I have a passion for North Idaho College. And I give of my time, my resources to the college. And I have enjoyed every single minute that I've been affiliated with the college and participate in many, many events. And so for those four reasons, I think I'm prepared to be a trustee and would like to continue as your trustee.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. Dr. Dunlap, what is your opinion on the Cardinal Pledge?
Could you repeat the last part of that question?
What is your opinion on the Cardinal Pledge? It is a pledge that NIC has encouraged students to take to keep each other and themselves safe.
Yeah, and I am totally in support of the Cardinal Pledge, and I think the results speak for themselves. If you look at what has happened and the steps that the college has taken, there have been quite a few different steps, whether it's sanitization stations, whether it's defogging or fogging the auditorium to disinfect, whether it's social distancing and the mandatory mask mandate. And I think that has been very effective. If you look at the data, the last I saw, which was I think yesterday or the day before, there were 33 students that had self-identified as having contacted or contracted COVID-19. And I believe there were maybe 3 employees. And from what I understand, none of that has been through retransmission on the college campus. It has been from their other circles. And so that being the case, I think that the pledge has been effective. I fully support it, and I fully support the mask on campus mandate. We've got to get this virus, this pandemic under control, and we've got to keep everyone safe. Now, the criticism has been, well, younger people aren't as likely to catch it or to have as severe side effects. Well, surprise, a lot of our instructors are a little older than our average age student, and we need to protect our instructors and our staff as well. I mean, this takes a whole community to support this and to make sure that it's effective. So I'm 100% behind this.
Great, thank you. Dr. Stern, what do you think about the Cardinal Pledge?
Well, thank you. And it's hard to follow that answer because I definitely agree with everything that Dr. Dunlap laid out there. I do think that as all of us in a community, you know, I'm all about freedom and liberty, but I was taught at an early age by my parents that whatever freedom I have comes with responsibility, and not just responsibility for myself or to myself, but responsibility for those around me and those that help me get where I am. And so, I think the pledge is right on the mark. I agree that we have to do everything we can to keep each other healthy and safe, so that we can keep our college open, so we can keep our economy open, and move forward. It's frustrating. There's no question about it. I feel the frustration my own self frequently, because of the limits that I self-impose, not just because somebody told me to, but not seeing people that I want to see, not doing some of the things that I would prefer to do and normally would be doing. But I think there is a positive sense of responsibility among the students and the staff at North Idaho College, and I commend you for that.
Thank you. Along the same lines, these two questions are very closely tied together. So what are your thoughts about the safety protocols NIC has in place in response to COVID-19? Dr. Sturm?
Well, yeah, I feel like I already answered that, but I will say that maybe more specifically, we didn't know a lot at the beginning when this pandemic broke out. There was a lot that we didn't know, and there's a lot more that we do know, that the healthcare community has learned and has learned how to treat it. And so it's been a learning process, I believe, for everybody. So there necessarily were going to be missteps along the way, but in terms of what we know today, masks are not as probably important for me to wear for my own protection, but for me to wear so that if I'm infected and don't know it, I'm not spreading it to other people. That's really the point of a mask. It's not so much to protect me, it's to protect everybody in our community. The social distancing, we know pretty much how the virus is spread, and so it only makes sense to keep a distance. And I think another thing we know is that time is the enemy. The longer we're congregated in groups together, the more apt we are to have infection spread. And that's a really scary thing when the staff and the president had to look at how to open the college again and keep people safe, because a college classroom is just the perfect spot for spreading the COVID virus. So I just think I think that the college has been responsible, and they've done the right things, and they're the evidence, as Dr. Dunlap pointed out, is that it seems to be working, and we were able to keep the college open. So that's a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Dunlap, do you have anything you would like to add?
Yeah, just briefly, the administration under the leadership of Dr. McLennan and his cabinet, working with students, faculty, and staff, I think has done a phenomenal job in putting the protocols in place and encouraging students to participate or comply with those protocols. And students have taken the initiative to call out other students to say, look, you need to help us in getting through this. And so I think it's been very effective, what has been done. And I can't imagine what else could be done. In addition, there have been opportunities for students who don't want to wear a mask or can't wear a mask to take courses online. And I have heard that we have instructors who have also made accommodations for students who may have a medical reason why that doesn't work well for them. And so kudos to our faculty for the job that they've done. And so I think the administration is doing a great job.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question. In light of NIC's value of economic and environmental stewardship, what are your ideas towards approving a budget where funds are being allocated towards sustainability on our campus? Dr. Dunlap?
Yeah, first of all, there needs to be a process, and I believe there is a process where the administration works with different financial units on the campus to work through what their budget requirements are, what they need for the forthcoming year, and how the college can meet those needs. On the trustee side of the house, we have a challenge in how we actually balance the budget. And so the variables include tuition. Do we raise tuition or not? And this year we made a commitment. We would not raise tuition on students. There's the issue of taking our 3% increase in tax allocation. And this year we decided to do that. And the complaint was, well, you raised our taxes. Well, no, we didn't. If you look at the data, on a $300,000 house last year, the tax was $159. This year, the tax on that same house with us taking our 3% is $146. That's a decrease in your taxes of 8%. So the tax issue is in play in terms of how we help balance the budget. There's also the issue of the state allocation. And as most of you, I'm sure all of you are aware, over the last year and a half, we've had our budget reduced by $1.4 million by the state. And so how do we make that up? Well, we made part of it up by taking our 3% allocation, which added another $480,000 to the budget. In addition, with the administration working with the financial units on campus, there was an effort to reduce expenses going into next year. And this past year, the college, through all of your efforts, has reduced the budget by $1.8 million. So there's all those variables that come into play, and we have to balance how we do that. And I will point out that at the last accreditation visit and their report that came out a few months ago, NIC was given a commendable rating for fiscal stewardship. So in spite of criticism from external sources about how the budget's handled, we were recognized with a commendable for our fiscal stewardship. So again, the administration has done a very good job putting together a proposed budget, bringing it to the trustees, massaging that, maybe making some changes, and then approving a budget going into next year. The other piece, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm not taking up too much time, is that we try and forecast what the enrollment's going to be, because that has an impact on revenues. And so we initially forecast, or
3-minute mark.
what's that?
We're at a 3-minute mark, so if I can have you close your remarks up. Please.
Okay. So anyway, we adjusted the percentage of reductions, and we came out better than what we thought. So I'll stop there. Thank you, Dodie. Sorry to take so long.
Thank you for your thoroughness, Dr. Dunlap. It's very appreciated. Dr. Sturm, what are your ideas towards approving a budget where funds are allocated towards sustainability on our campus?
Well, I haven't been involved in the decisions that you just heard about, but I am aware of them, and I've been trying to get myself up to speed and understand what's happened up to this point. And I have to agree that it looks like a job well done to me. I think the important thing is that budgets are complex. Revenue sources, as Dr. Dunlap pointed out, come from a variety of different sources, and so it's important that the board and the administration work together to coordinate those different revenue sources. For me, the important thing, and I go back to my memory of being a student, I could work and go to school and pay for my school. It's very important to me that we do everything we can to keep tuition and fees as low as we can. We have a great opportunity in Kootenai County right now, and the board took advantage of that, as Dr. Dunlap explained. As we grow our population and we have more properties, which is a big source of revenue, as we grow that population, the impact of the dollar on the taxpayer is actually spread out further and goes down. And so this is a perfect opportunity to take advantage of that, to allow us to keep tuition and fees low and really not have a negative impact on any individual taxpayer. So I think it was a really smart move on the part of the college to take advantage of that growth. Unfortunately, I understand we took a hit from the state, and that was one of the reasons that we increased the budget locally. I was heartened to hear Governor Little mention the other day that we have a surplus in the state budget. I think there's going to be a lot of competition for that, but we need to be going after. We need to be going after those dollars at the state level. Thank you.
Thank you. And on to our next question. When looking at adjustments to campus, how would you balance the input from the students of NIC with the input from the community? Dr. Sturm?
Well, I think that's one of my strengths is that I don't start from a preconceived notion. I want to listen, I want to hear, and I want to know what decisions how they're going to impact all of the stakeholders. So the community has an important voice. They help us pay the bills. Students need to have a very strong voice because the environment that they work in is so important for their success in their education. So I guess I would say that I'm a listener, and I like to work together with the rest of the trustees and the administration to come up with solutions and try to be as creative as we can. A lot of times the first blush is not the first look at a problem. We don't necessarily see the solution, but I think if we work through it and listen to people and take the important elements of different groups that have interest in the decision, we'll come up with better decisions and be more creative in those decisions.
Thank you. Dr. Dunlap?
Guy, would you be so kind as to read the question one more time?
Of course. When looking at adjustments to campus, how would you balance the input from the students of NIC with the input from the community?
Yeah, that's a great question, because as the name community college implies, we belong to the community and we respond to the community. We also have a participatory governance structure in which faculty and staff and students participate. They attend the board meetings and provide input at every opportunity. And I know that the students provide input through Vice President Stanley. And in the community, the way we get input is in a couple ways. Number one is the trustees have one employee, and that's President McLennan. And when President McLennan was hired, the screening committee was composed of not only members of the college, but also members of the community. So they could provide their input and look at who they would want to represent the college in their community. In addition, every single career and technical program has an advisory committee that's made up of practitioners in those career fields. So if you take any program like the welding program, we have an advisory committee that's made up of practitioners, welders in our community that give us input in terms of what the program's doing, what kind of donations they may need, and what they can do to serve the community better, and even input on curriculum. And so it's not an either or proposition between the community or the students. It's an and proposition. And how do we take the input from all factions, including faculty and staff, and work that into a decision model that meets the best needs of students? That's it.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting you off. Thank you. So Dr. Dunlap, what are the initial goals you would follow if elected?
What are the initial goals
Yes.
that I would follow?
Mhm.
And well, there's a number of things I think that are important for the college. Number one is the college community, you folks, have spent a tremendous amount of time in planning. And that's an educational master plan, a strategic master plan, and a facilities plan in terms of how we build out the college. And it's important that we as trustees support those plans and help implement those plans. So let me give you a good example. Part of the master plan included the expansion of the Myers Health Science Facility, which is desperately needed because our labs are a choke point and we need to be able to expand those. But with the COVID-19 and the crisis that ensued, a decision was made to postpone that construction. That project is still on the books. It's still going to happen. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So that's one of the goals in terms of implementation and adoption of those plans. And then how do we build out the college? Some of the other goals include being fiscally conservative, and we already touched on that and how well the college has done with relation to the accreditation visit. We also want to make sure we're meeting the needs of our community, and we do that through our community input. And so there's a number of goals that are brought to the trustees vis-a-vis the board meeting with your president and your vice presidents. And so we look at those, and if it's at a policy level, then we will take action on it. If it's at an operational level, then that decision-making resides with the president and his cabinet.
Thank you. Dr. Sturm?
Yes, thank you. I would say that my first goal is to listen and learn. I'll have a definitely a steep learning curve to learn about, and I'm already working on it. So I know a little bit about most of the things that we've been talking about, but I've got a lot of things to learn about the college and about where it's headed for the future. I have spent some time with the strategic planning documents, and it's comprehensive and it's thorough, and it really looks like a very good plan for taking the college forward. I think enrollment is one of the issues that is plaguing universities and colleges, higher education all across the country. I think Dr. Dunlap pointed out that we are below the average of the decrease in enrollment. So we're actually doing better than most community colleges across the country. So that's good news, but we're still seeing and have seen a decline in enrollment. And I know that there are many programs and many things going on that have tried to turn that tide. And obviously it's being effective because we're not in as bad a place as some. I think that's an area that I would like to pursue because we're growing here, and I think there must be opportunities to expand our enrollment. You know, I think fiscal responsibility, that's going to be an area that I'm going to spend a good deal of my time learning about. where we are as a college, and making sure that I'm doing my job to be fiscally responsible. And along those lines, I already mentioned that for me, a priority is to keep education affordable for students. That's just to me, that's a fundamental principle. So I'm sure I'll come up with others as soon as we get off the phone here, but that's where I would start.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our next question, starting with Dr. Sherm. Diversity is one of NIC's core values. What does this mean to you?
Diversity means that anyone and everyone, that's one of the beauties of a community college, is that it's open to everybody. And that to me is a core value of mine, that we provide and create and maintain an environment that students can come and they can learn and pursue their educational goals and aspirations in an environment of safety, and learn and explore ideas. And the same would be with the faculty. The faculty needs to feel free and protected to explore ideas and have interchange with each other, and have not only a diversity of people, but a diversity of ideas that work through the community. So having a diverse community in the community college is very important to me.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Dunlap?
Well, thank you. Diversity means that we accept everyone. And it means that we do not discriminate based on race, creed, color, age, sex, gender, or anything else. And I'm sure there's more to the laundry list. But it means that we accept everybody for who they are and what they are, and work with them so that they can reach their full potential. Now, if you look at the accreditation standards, there's a requirement in the accreditation standards for global awareness and cultural sensitivity. And so you can't have those discussions without talking about diversity. And so I know we have built into the curriculum, it's embedded in a large part of the curriculum, those accreditation standards. In other words, those topics, the global awareness and cultural sensitivity. On NIC, you have formed a diversity council, which is to be commended. And if you look at who participates in that, it's faculty, staff, and students. And there's a lot to celebrate there. And so oftentimes at the board meeting, when we have celebrating success, those kinds of topics come up and successes are presented. You also have a common read that relates to diversity and provides some diversity of thought in terms of discussion points. Now, the criticism that we've received recently from some members of our community is that we indoctrinate students. In other words, we teach an ideology. And what I prefer to say is we teach students how to think, not what to think. And so this notion that individuals are indoctrinated, as far as I'm concerned, is nonsense. What happens is students come to the college, they take a wide variety of courses, they broaden their horizon, and they change their views about life, the world, diversity, and other individuals. And so that's through their own volition. It's not through an indoctrination process. But diversity is celebrated, studied, and discussed at every single college and university in this country that adheres to the accreditation standards. And that's virtually every public institution.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question. How are you going to support all of NIC's institutional values? Dr. Dunlop?
Well, we've got 5 major values that relate to fiscal stewardship, diversity, educational excellence, and I'm sure I'm missing one here. But the way we do that is through the programs that are established and implemented. And it doesn't matter what I personally may feel about a particular topic. I am unaffiliated. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. And it's up to me to be nonpartisan about the values and the programs that we offer on this campus. And those programs are offered to meet a wide variety of needs. And related to your question about diversity, it meets needs there as well as career and technical programs that meet the needs of our community. And so, if you look at those 5 values and realize that that's the absolute core and essence of this college, then as a trustee, you are compelled to support those in some form or fashion. And in 2 minutes, I can't discuss how I would support every one of those 5 in a wide variety of ways, but we as trustees support those and celebrate those.
Thank you. Dr. Sturm?
Yeah, thank you. Those core institutional values are I think very important, and I think that as a trustee, again, I'm gonna say some of the same things that Dr. Dunlap said. I've worked for institutions of learning, it feels like my whole life, and that is exactly what you come to the table with, is not any kind of a ideological or preconceived agenda or political ideology. You come to the table with those values and the students and the institution at heart, and how you're going to help that college and those students be successful. And so I know I'm being general because again, I can't address each one of those, but I think the core of the question is, am I going to support those values? And I absolutely am and do and will. And we do that through making sure that we have that we're fiscally sound, and that we have policies and procedures that address those core values. And if they don't, we need to change them. But as that's really how the Board of Trustees works, is through policies and procedures and fiduciary responsibility and oversight. So I would always be keeping those core values at the center of decisions about finances and governance and our liaison role with the community.
Thank you. Okay, we will start with Dr. Sturm on this one. And you both have already touched on this a little bit, but tell us how one of your career accomplishments has helped you prepare for the role of NIC trustee.
Well, I guess I would say all of them have, because each one has led to the next. I would say that one of the things that I had an opportunity to do besides my educational career in being a teacher and a principal and a superintendent, I did have an opportunity to teach some classes at WSU while I was in Pullman in the Ed Leadership program. One thing I learned very quickly is that I think people look at instruction at the college level and think, oh, that's easy. You just tell them what to learn and they'll learn it. But it's a lot of work. And so I've got to say, one of the things I learned is that the faculty works hard to do what they do to help students learn. And so that's one experience that I didn't have higher ed experience until I was able to teach those classes. And I was also able to work with the College of Education at WSU. I was on committees that were hiring committees and those kinds of things. I got a little bit of an insight to the higher ed. So I would say that those experiences, even though they weren't my career experiences, I think that was one of the things that adds to the other elements of my background to help me be prepared for working at North Idaho College.
Thank you. Dr. Dunlap?
Thanks, Kai. I think the question was talk about an accomplishment in education that kind of brings us to this point. And the first assignment, if you will, or the first position I had in higher education was at Western Michigan University, and I was director for the School of Aviation Sciences. And when I got there, it was a mediocre program. It had about 100 students. We had about 10 airplanes. And so what we set out to do was to build a flight training program that was one of the largest in the country. And so over the course of the next 7 years, I raised about $30 million. We built a satellite campus 18 miles away from the main campus. Our fleet of aircraft went from 10 to 65. Our students went from 100 to 1,000. And we won the national flight championship one year. And so what that taught me was how to think big about accomplishing some major tasks. It taught me how to work with local and federal government to raise money and to put together resources to build a new campus. And it taught me how to work with the community in terms of building support for this program. And so how I apply that at NIC or Spokane Community College for that matter is the ability to raise money, to start new programs, to expand programs, to meet the needs of business and industry in our community. And so that's been kind of a nice segue for me into education. And it taught me an awful lot on how to think big and accomplish significant things at a college or university.
Great, thank you. Moving on to our next question. What are your thoughts on NIC remaining an affordable option for students? And where do you stand on making community college cost-free? You both have already touched on this a little bit, but Dr. Dunlap?
Yeah, we as the trustees, I think, are committed to make sure that college is affordable for our community and the 5 counties that we serve. And as evidence of that, we chose not to raise tuition this year. We decided that with all that's going on, we needed to balance the budget in a different manner and make sure the students remained whole. Kai, could you read the second half of that question again?
Yes. Where do you stand on making community college cost-free?
I think that's an excellent idea, provided we can generate the resources to create that opportunity. And I don't know if the resources can come from state resources, federal resources, or locally raised resources. But if you look at what's been done with the NIC Foundation, last year they dispersed over $1.2 million. The vast majority of that, over $1 million, going directly to students for scholarships. And so there's already an effort underway to reduce the cost of students to students and to provide more cost-effective options for students. Another thing that happened several years ago, and this was under the leadership of Graydon Stanley, was that we no longer offered to students loans up front, because it was very easy to take loans and add to college debt. And during that period of time, the college was able to reduce student debt from approximately $6,000 per student to about $2,000 per student. Well, that makes it much more affordable for students coming to the college. So there's a number of measures that can be taken to help reduce the cost for students. And if there are resources that we can put together to make community college cost-free, I'm all in on that.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Sturm, what are your thoughts on NIC remaining an affordable option, and where do you stand on making community college cost-free?
Well, yeah, I think I've spoken a couple of times on my core principle of keeping the cost of college affordable for students. So I'll just reiterate that's a core value for me. On the topic of cost-free, I absolutely agree. If we can pull that off somehow, I just think we need to, as a society, we need to invest in education. We've been saying for decades that post-secondary education is critical for lifelong learning and for career opportunities, but we haven't put our money necessarily where our mouth is. I don't believe that we have supported our educational institutions. We've turned them more into businesses, and I think I think for me it's a societal imperative to make sure students can get a college education without having to leverage their earnings for the rest of their life, in some cases, depending on what school you go to and so forth. So I'm all about that. If I could jump back for just a second and talk about the previous question. It didn't dawn on me when you first asked it, but if I have another few seconds here. When I was a principal, I was a planning principal for 4 years, and then another 4 years of building a new high school in the Spokane Valley. And then when I moved to Pullman, I was the principal and key communicator to the public, to the community, to raise the funds to replace the high school there. And we also remodeled 2 elementary schools, and we built a new elementary school. And I was the face of all of those initiatives. We also passed every one of our levies. So those were huge capstone accomplishments in my career in education.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next question, Dr. Sturm, you'll start us off. What are your views on the extra and co-curricular activities at NIC, like our athletics program and our clubs?
I think they're vital. I'm disappointed that we're in a time right now that they're not able to be up and operating the way they have in the past. In particular, I think the community finds great value in not only the athletic performances, but the music and the arts, performing arts. I know my wife and I in particular have enjoyed in the past the performing arts part of, and it just gives students such a great opportunity to develop their skills and develop their interests. But it's a two-way street, and I can't wait to see those fully blossom again and be available not only for student performances, but for the community to enjoy those performances. I really believe that a lot, as much learning takes place in extracurricular activities, in clubs. That's the application part of your education, learning to work with people, learning to solve problems and develop your skills. So to me, it's an essential part of the college experience.
Thank you. Dr. Dunlap?
Yeah, thank you, Kai. I don't know that I can expand much on what Dr. Sturm was talking about, because I also agree that the extracurricular activities, whether it's athletics or the arts or clubs or other activities that ASNIC may be putting on for students, is absolutely critical. And that's part of the reason people go to college, is to learn new ideas, techniques, skills, abilities. It's not just going and sitting in a classroom. And so providing these extra experience, I think, really enrich those students who come and want a broad experience and want to go away as an educated individual, a fully educated individual, a well-rounded individual. And so during these times of crisis, like with this COVID-19, we should not entertain, and I'm not suggesting we have, balancing the budget by eliminating or reducing those extracurricular activities. We should find ways to continue to support those so that as we emerge from this crisis, we can go back to having those types of events that may have been temporarily curtailed. So I'm fully supportive of all those extracurricular activities. And I thank ASNIC and Student Services and the instruction side of the house for all they do, for all you do to support those.
Thank you. Moving on to our final question. Dr. Dunlap, what's one change you would make to NIC if you
Let's see, one change that I would make for NIC. You know, that's really a good question. And there's a number of changes I would like to see, but I'm not sure that they're all within my power. So for example, we've had a reduction in state support. That's vital to the health of the institution, the programs we offer, and meeting the needs of business and industry. And so part of our trustees' responsibility is to work with government, our legislators, the governor's office, to try and restore the level of funding that we need, because otherwise we end up having to look at it, tuition increases, taking more of our tax allocation, or trying to increase enrollment, which is oftentimes driven by the unemployment rate in the country rather than the ability to attract new students. So I think that's one area where I would like to focus on, is trying to influence the restoration of those funds that have been reduced. I'm also very supportive of the administration and the faculty and staff in seeking out other finance opportunities through grants for programs and for our students. The foundation has done a fabulous job raising scholarship money. We've got deans who've done a great job attracting grant money to support programs, and so kudos to them. So I think the biggest change I'd like to see is to being able to make sure that the college is fully sustainable into the future.
Thank you. Dr. Sturm?
Yes, thank you, Kai. That was a great question. And Dr. Dunlap, that was a great answer. I don't come to try to be a trustee with an agenda to necessarily make any one big change. And so, as I've said before I decide what priority I might have, I need to do a lot of listening and learning. But I would say that that is one area that is primary to a trustee's responsibility is the finances. And I think it's critical that we, as I mentioned earlier, we have an opportunity. The state says they have a surplus right now, and I think we need to make a case that we restore the funding for North Idaho College that we lost from the state. And that plays back to my core value of keeping the cost to students low. I think that's just critical. And so I'm not giving you a real straight answer, but I think as a trustee, I would really be focused on making sure that the college is on sound and sustainable financial footing.
Great,
Thank
thank you. That was our last question, and I would like to say thank you to you both for your thoroughness in answering these questions. And we will move on to closing remarks. So Dr. Sturm, is there anything you would like to say?
Well, Kai, thank you so much. This was, as I mentioned at the beginning, this was a great opportunity for me to learn and get some insight into what the issues are and what is concerning to the student body. And I hope I was able to give you some insight as to the kind of person that I am. I would just like to say that I would just love to be a part of North Idaho College and be part of making it, keeping it strong as it is, and finding ways to improve North Idaho College. It is just a vital part of not only Coeur d'Alene, but the whole surrounding area, and frankly, all of North Idaho. It is a gem for this region, and we need to keep it strong. And I would be committed to doing that. And I thank you so much for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Dunlap.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you and the faculty and staff for, for hosting this, but the faculty and staff and students for participating or listening to this. And I think you can sense my passion for the college, and I would hope that you and your loved ones and your family and friends would cast a vote for me, just so I can continue with that passion. The only other comment I want to make is that if you look at who's here today, you'll notice it's conspicuous by their absence, the people that Paul and I are running against. And those individuals are captains or precinct captains in the Republican Central Committee. And so you've got 3 trustee candidates that are captains with the Republican Central Committee. So I want you to ask yourself, in this nonpartisan election, who do you want running your college? Do you want individuals with a political agenda and ideology that come to the college? Or do you want 2 unaffiliated trustees like Dr. Sturm and myself representing the community in a nonpartisan fashion, representing you and providing policy decisions for the college? So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. With that, ASNIC would like to thank each of the candidates and the efforts of Dodie Stokke, Graydon Stanley, Maureen Dolan, Laura Rumpler, and Steve Smith, as well as all of you for attending and many others for participating in this forum. Thank you, and please go vote.
Thank you, Kai.
Yeah, thank you.